Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video here for you all to show you my Helix DSP Allocations page and show you some of the capabilities of the interactive spreadsheet that I have here. So ultimately, we have two different tables on this page. The top table is for amp model allocations, and the second table is for all the other blocks in the Helix. Next thing is you can sort these tables. You click on the headings as you mouse over them here. You can see that they highlight. You can sort on each one of these headings. So this would just sort by the order they appear in the Helix. This would sort alphabetically. This would sort by the category of bass versus guitar, sort by the mono usage, sort by the stereo usage, or in the case of amplifiers, the usage for an amp only versus the amp plus cab block. The next thing is you can use this search block to narrow it down. So if I wanted to see all the Brit amp models, I could just type in Brit here and it'll filter it down to just the Brit amp models. If I want to see the Plexi, I could type in Plexi. The other thing is the sorting will respect primary and secondary sorting. So if I sort by the DSP reserved for the amp only and then sort by category, you'll see that now what I have is all the bass amps sorted from lowest DSP to highest DSP, followed by all the guitar amps sorted from lowest DSP to highest DSP. So let's take a look at some of those. So the cheapest guitar amp here is the US Small Tweed at about 16% DSP usage alone, or 25% when used with an amp. The most expensive amp model is the Brit Plexi Jump, which is both channels of the Brit Plexi together. Now you might be tempted to think that that's because they had to model two channels there, and that probably is a little bit of it, but let's take a look at the Brit Plexi, where you can see that the Brit Plexi normal and bright channels together each use around 36-37% DSP. So the fact that they could get the jump channel to model both of those channels together at 41% I think is actually pretty amazing. Anyway, let's go back to the full list, clear out that search. We can see some of the other really expensive amp models are the Solo Lead Overdrive channel. That's the Soldano SLO 100 head, Super Lead Overdrive. The German Madhiva, that is a Bogner amp. Those are some of the most expensive amps, but you're able to compare here how much DSP do they use when they have a cab block versus used by themselves. So let's take a look at some of the blocks in detail, category by category. In the delay category, some of the cheapest delays to calculate look alike as the ping pong stereo delay, the duck delay, and the simple delay, while some of the most expensive delays are the pitch echo. No surprise there. You've got the pitch algorithm as well as the delay algorithm. You've got the multi-tap delays, the harmony delay, another pitch algorithm, and the adiabatic delay. So after that, we have all the distortion pedals. Those are pretty interesting. The Megaphone is the cheapest distortion pedal at under 5% DSP, while we go all the way down to the Clawthorne Drive, which is a whopping 20% of DSP when used in mono. I don't ever use any stereo drives, but if you use the Clawthorne Drive in stereo, it uses up a full 40% of your DSP. But in mono, I think is probably most people's typical case for distortion blocks. The Ringer Fuzz, the Valve Driver, Industrial Fuzz are some of the other expensive ones. The Minotaur clocks in there pretty high. Cheaper ones, Hedgehog, Compulsive Drive, Top Secret OD. After that, we've got Dynamics blocks. And the Dynamics blocks, there's not a lot of them, but you can see here the Hardgate is the cheapest one at only about 1.5% in mono, whereas the Red Squeeze is the crazy expensive one at 12%. Next thing, equalizers, the simple EQ all the way down to the parametric. Cal EQ graphic kind of comes out in the middle, but you'll see that EQ is actually pretty cheap to calculate, so none of them really use a lot. In the filter section, these are all real close to each other, 2.5 to almost 4% for those. Let's take a look at modulation, goes all the way from the tremolo block at under 2%, all the way up to the harmonic flanger and the gray flanger and the courtesan flange, which are about 10%. Then we could take a look here at the pitch and synth effects, to where the 4 oscillator generator is at under 10%, all the way up to the dual pitch, which is at 17%. It was actually pretty interesting to me that the dual pitch is 16% while the simple pitch is 12%, because ultimately the dual pitch should be doing, you would think, twice the amount of work as the simple pitch. So I wonder if that's just a mistake where they reserve too much power, or if there's something going on under the hood that we're not aware of. But something else that's extra interesting to me in the pitch category is that the twin harmony versus the dual pitch. You would think the twin harmony is like a dual pitch with something extra, the ability to have programmed what key you're in and then change how it's adjusting the signal based on that key. But it appears, based on my calculation, that the twin harmony actually has reserved a little bit less DSP from the dual pitch. Taking a look at the reverbs, and you can see that largely they're not too bad. Now there's no mono reverbs, they're all stereo. So I'm just going to talk about the stereo column, where previously I was only talking about the mono column for all the other blocks. But almost all of the reverbs use the exact same amount of DSP, which is a little over 11% of your DSP. The notable exceptions are the particle verb, which uses a little bit more at 14% DSP, and the two spring reverbs. The two spring reverbs are using about twice as much DSP as all the other reverbs at 20%. All of the speaker blocks I grouped together here, and that's the 1024 sample IR, the 2048 sample IR, and the stock cabs. The 1024 IR uses a little over 9% of your DSP, and the stock cabs use a little bit over 9% of your DSP. Now, the IRs are only in mono, so you see it says dash mono by them. There is no stereo block for IRs, but I did include a stereo cost, which is the mono cost doubled. However, the cabs, there is a stereo option. This is the single cab cost versus the dual cab cost. So when you use the dual cab block, you're using a little bit less than twice as much horsepower than the single cab block. Take a look at the volume and pan blocks. You see those are pretty much some of the cheapest in the Helix. Even using the stereo versions uses less than 1% of the DSP for each. And we take a look at all the wahs, and you can see that they're all fairly cheap on the DSP end of the scale, all coming in at less than 2% for mono and just over 4% for stereo. Anyway, I hope you guys like this chart. I hope you get a lot of use out of it. Just remember, you can sort these columns however you want. You can do that on the other blocks table as well, so you can sort things out however you like. You can also search for specific things here. So if you just want to see delays, we can type in delay there, and now you'll see only delay effects. So these charts are interactive. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a lot of use out of it, and I will see you all in the next video.